Ixala crouched perfectly still in the tangled undergrowth of Veridia IV's dense jungle. Her emerald skin, covered in intricate bioluminescent markings that she had carefully dimmed, blended perfectly with the verdant foliage. The elongated tips of her ears twitched slightly, catching the faintest sounds of the jungle and of her prey. Her amber eyes, with their vertically slit pupils, remained fixed on the small clearing ahead where the human would soon pass. Her copper-red hair was pulled back tightly, secured with bone clasps that marked her elite status among the Vexari hunters. 3 standard cycles she had been tracking this particular human, 3 cycles watching, learning, and planning. The human, this male specimen, was unusually resourceful compared to others her kind had hunted. While the rest of his crashed exploration vessel's crew had fallen quickly to Veridia's predators or the Vexari hunting parties, this one had not only survived, but had eliminated 2 junior hunters who had crossed his path. This earned him the right to be hunted by Ixala herself, first-rank hunter of the Crimson Claw clan. "Your final sunrise has come, human," she whispered to herself, adjusting the bioreactive grip on her pulse spear. The weapon hummed softly in acknowledgement of her touch, its crystalline tip glowing with stored energy. According to her calculations and the pattern of his movements, the human would cross through this clearing within moments. He had established a predictable route to the freshwater spring, his first mistake. His second would be stepping into her expertly laid web of nearly invisible sensor filaments strung between the trees, which would trigger a paralytic field. Once immobilized, she would make the killing strike, quick, clean, and honorable as befitted worthy prey. A twig snapped. Ixala's muscles tensed in anticipation. The human appeared at the edge of the clearing, moving with unexpected silence for such a bulky creature. He was tall by Vexari standards, with skin bronzed by Veridia's harsh sun. His dark hair was cropped short, and a growth of facial hair covered his lower face. He wore tattered remnants of what must have been a uniform, now modified with elements of the jungle, vines reinforcing seams, leaves providing additional camouflage. Ixala's breath caught. This was no ordinary explorer. His movements, his adaptations, they spoke of military training, even more impressive. The human paused, scanning the clearing with intense blue eyes. Then he did something entirely unexpected. He smiled directly at her hiding place and spoke in a low, confident voice. "I know you're there, have known for 2 days now." Ixala froze, momentarily startled. Impossible. Her concealment was perfect. "If I were you," he continued casually, "I'd be more concerned about the carnivorous vines you're kneeling in. Nasty habit of constricting when they sense hormonal changes, like the surprise you're feeling right now." She felt it then, the subtle movement of the undergrowth around her ankles. A rookie mistake. In her focus on the human, she had failed to properly identify all the flora in her chosen hiding spot. The human calmly raised something in his hand, a small device assembled from salvaged ship parts. "This remote trigger is connected to your own trap network. Clever design, by the way. I particularly liked the neural interface components." Ixala's mind raced. She could leap clear of the vines, but would expose herself to whatever countermeasures the human had prepared. Or she could. She never finished the thought. The human pressed the device, and Ixala felt her own paralytic field wash over her. Her muscles locked, and she toppled sideways out of the undergrowth, her spear clattering uselessly beside her. The human approached cautiously, still maintaining a safe distance. Up close, Ixala could see the scars on his face and arms, testament to previous battles and survival on this harsh world. "My name is Vex," he said, kneeling to examine her weapons without touching them. "Former captain in the Terran Defense Force, Special Reconnaissance Division." He looked directly into her immobilized eyes. "And you've been following me since you took out my makeshift shelter by the volcanic springs." Ixala could only watch as he methodically disarmed her, his movements precise and respectful of the deadly technology he handled. "I could end this now," he said, examining her pulse spear with genuine appreciation. "But I think we might have things to teach each other." His eyes met hers again, and something unexpected passed between them. Professional respect, certainly, but something else that made Ixala's heart rate accelerate. "The paralysis will wear off by nightfall," Vex continued. "By then, we'll be somewhere safer. I'm guessing those markings mean you're not hunting alone. Your friends will come looking eventually." As he carefully lifted her immobilized form, Ixala realized the hunt had indeed been reversed, but in ways neither predator nor prey could have anticipated. Night had fallen by the time feeling returned to Ixala's limbs. She lay on a bed of broad leaves inside what appeared to be a small cave, hidden behind a waterfall. The constant rush of water would mask their scent and sounds from any tracking parties, a tactical choice that reluctantly impressed her. Vex sat at the cave entrance, silhouetted against the phosphorescent glow of Viridia's twin moons. He was methodically cleaning a makeshift blade, seemingly unconcerned that his captive was regaining mobility. Ixala flexed her fingers experimentally. Her weapons were gone, but the human had not bound her, either foolish confidence or calculated respect. "Your paralytic technology is efficient," Vex remarked without turning. "But the neurological impact diminishes with repeated exposure. I've been hit with it twice before." "By hunters I tracked and eliminated," Ixala replied, her voice carrying the musical inflection common to her species. "You should have killed me when you had the chance." Now he turned, moonlight catching the sharp angles of his face. "If our positions were reversed, would you have killed me immediately?" Yes, the answer came without hesitation. "No," Vex countered with unexpected certainty. "You've been tracking me for 3 days. If immediate elimination was your goal, you would have used ranged weapons from cover. You wanted the confrontation." Ixala sat up slowly, controlling the lingering tremors in her muscles. The human was perceptive. The glory of the hunt came not just from the kill, but from witnessing the prey's recognition of defeat. It was tradition, one she wouldn't expect an alien to understand. "Your species is classified as aggressive but technologically primitive," she said. "How did you detect me? How did you reverse my trap?" Vex set aside his blade and produced a small device, an improvised scanner cobbled together from ship components and what appeared to be parts from a fallen hunter's equipment. "Humans aren't primitive, we're adaptable." His voice held no bitterness, only fact. "Your hunting technology emits specific energy signatures. Once I identified them, tracking you became simple." "You hunted the hunter," Ixala said, a reluctant note of respect entering her voice. "I survived," he corrected. "There's a difference." Silence fell between them, filled only by the rushing water and distant cries of nocturnal predators. Ixala studied her captor with new interest. His resourcefulness challenged everything her people believed about humans. "My hunting party will find us," she finally said. "They will not be as easily trapped." "I'm counting on it," Vex replied. "In fact, I need them to find us, just not yet." He moved toward her, and Ixala tensed, preparing for combat despite her weakened state. Instead, he placed a water container carved from native wood beside her. "Drink, tomorrow will be difficult." "Where are you taking me?" "There's a human emergency beacon 50 kilometers north. I've been working my way toward it since the crash. With your knowledge of the terrain and predator patterns, we might both survive the journey." Ixala's copper brows furrowed. "You expect me to help you escape?" "I expect you to survive," Vex replied, "which means temporarily aligning our interests." Their eyes met in the darkness, an unspoken challenge passing between them. The human was offering a temporary truce, one that defied the hunter-prey relationship that had defined them. "And if I refuse?" Vex's expression remained neutral. "Then I continue alone, and you return to your hunting party to explain how a primitive human bested you. Your choice." Ixala felt a surge of conflicting emotions, indignation at his presumption, but also a stirring of curiosity. No prey had ever spoken to her as an equal. No prey had ever shown such confidence in her presence. "One day," she said softly, "one of us will hunt the other again." "Probably," Vex agreed, the hint of a smile crossing his weathered features. "But tonight we rest, tomorrow we survive." As moonlight filtered through the waterfall, casting rippling patterns across the cave, Ixala realized the hunt had evolved into something far more complex than pursuit and capture. For the first time in her hunting career, she faced an adversary who saw her as more than an obstacle to be overcome. The realization was both unsettling and strangely exhilarating. Dawn broke with a cacophony of alien wildlife. Ixala crouched beside Vex at the edge of a massive ravine, her emerald skin glistening with morning dew. 3 days had passed since their confrontation, and their journey north had settled into an uneasy alliance. "The fissure extends 20 kilometers east," she said, pointing toward the horizon where lightning split the perpetual storm clouds. "We cannot cross here." Vex nodded, studying the map he'd meticulously created on salvaged synth paper. Your people avoid this region entirely. Why? Ixala hesitated. Sharing Vexari knowledge with an outsider violated her most sacred hunting codes, yet their survival had become inexplicably intertwined. The ravine nests, she finally replied. Aerial predators that hunt by sensing bioelectrical signatures. They would detect us before we reached halfway. As if summoned by her words, a massive winged creature emerged from the ravine, its translucent wingspan stretching nearly 15 meters. Its elongated head bristled with sensory appendages, quivering as they scanned the area. Vex and Ixala simultaneously dropped flat against the ground. His shoulder pressed against hers, warm against her cooler skin. Neither moved as the creature circled overhead, its undulating cry echoing across the landscape. The crash disrupted their breeding grounds, Ixala whispered, her mouth close to Vex's ear. They've been more aggressive since. Your people consider humans responsible, Vex concluded, understanding dawning in his eyes. Ixala nodded slightly. The council declared humans' ecological threats to be eliminated. The ravine beast made another pass, lower this time. Vex's hand moved subtly toward the crude spear he carried, but Ixala stilled it with her own. Movement will draw it, she breathed. We must remain motionless until it returns to the nest. They lay frozen, barely breathing, bodies pressed together in shared necessity. Minutes stretched into an hour before the creature finally retreated into the depths of the ravine. Only then did Ixala become acutely aware of their proximity, his heartbeat against her side, the rhythm distinctly faster than a Vexari's double pulse. She pulled away first, rising to a crouch. We must find another route. Vex stood, his gaze lingering on her face with an intensity that made her skin's bioluminescent patterns brighten involuntarily. There's another option, he said. If these creatures hunt by sensing bioelectrical fields, we could create a diversion. He retrieved his pack and pulled out components he'd salvaged throughout their journey, parts of her own technology combined with human ingenuity. A pulse emitter, he explained, assembling the pieces with surprising dexterity. Modified from your paralytic field generator, it will create a bioelectrical signature strong enough to draw them away from our crossing point. Ixala watched his hands work, fascinated by how he'd understood and adapted her people's technology. You created this while I slept, she realized aloud. I don't require as much rest as you, he said with a slight smile. Your species enters a deeper regenerative state. You watch me sleep, she said, uncertain why the thought sent an unfamiliar warmth through her chest. I watched over you, he corrected, his tone softer than she'd heard before. There's a difference. Their eyes met, and something shifted between them, hunter and prey becoming something unclassifiable. The moment broke when Vex stood, device in hand. We'll need to time this perfectly. Once activated, we'll have approximately 8 minutes to cross before it fails. Or before the ravine beasts realize they've been deceived and return more aggressively, Ixala added. Vex nodded grimly. Either way, we run. They positioned the device and Vex activated it. The effect was immediate. Writhing forms rose from the ravine depths, drawn to the pulsing signal. Now, Vex grabbed her hand, pulling her toward the narrowest section of the ravine where fallen trees created a precarious natural bridge. They ran in perfect synchrony, feet finding secure holds where others might slip. Halfway across, a splintering crack sounded beneath them. The bridge was collapsing. Without hesitation, Vex pushed Ixala forward toward safety as the structure gave way beneath him. She turned in time to see him falling, one hand desperately clutching at a protruding root. Instinct took over. Ixala dove forward, her body stretched across the crumbling edge, and caught his wrist. Pain shot through her shoulder as his weight threatened to pull them both into the abyss. She could see the ravine beasts turning, sensing the commotion. Let go, Vex urged, looking up at her with resignation. Save yourself. No, Ixala growled, her markings pulsing with effort as she pulled with strength that surprised even her. Not prey, not hunter, partner. With a final surge of determination, she hauled him upward until he could grasp the edge and pull himself to safety. They collapsed together on solid ground as the remainder of the bridge plummeted into the ravine. For long moments, they lay side by side, breathing heavily. Then Vex turned to her, eyes filled with wonder and something else, something that made Ixala's double heart beat with unfamiliar rhythm. "Why?" he asked simply. Ixala found no answer in her hunter's training, only in the strange new territory her heart had entered. "Because," she said quietly, "the hunt has changed." Around them, the cries of returning ravine beasts filled the air, but neither moved to flee just yet. For this moment, predator and prey had disappeared, leaving only two beings connected by something more powerful than the instinct to survive. Firelight danced across Vex's features as he tended the small, smokeless flame he'd engineered from local minerals. They had made camp in a hollow beneath the tangled roots of an ancient tree, their shelter hidden from both aerial predators and tracking parties. 5 days had passed since crossing the ravine, and with each hour, the line between captor and captive blurred further. Ixala sat cross-legged opposite him, her amber eyes reflecting the flickering light as she meticulously repaired a tear in her hunting garment. The silence between them had evolved from tense to comfortable, punctuated only by the alien night sounds of Veridia. "The beacon should be less than a day's journey now," Vex said, breaking the quiet. "Once activated, a Terran retrieval vessel will respond within hours." Ixala's hand stilled. "And then you leave this world." "Yes," his eyes met hers across the fire. "You could come with me." The invitation hung in the air between them, both impossible and tempting. Ixala's copper-red hair fell forward as she lowered her gaze. "My place is with my people," she said, though with less conviction than she might have had days ago. "Even if your people are wrong about humans," Vex challenged gently. Ixala looked up sharply. "You crashed on our sacred hunting grounds," the Council determined. "The Council determined based on incomplete information," Vex interrupted. "Our ship wasn't an invasion force, Ixala. We were refugees." He reached into his tattered uniform and withdrew a data crystal, its surface etched with intricate circuitry. "This contains the ship's log. We were fleeing the Krell Dominion after they destroyed our outpost in the Proxima system. Your world was the nearest habitable planet outside their territorial claims." Ixala accepted the crystal, turning it over in her slender fingers. Her species' natural ability to interface with crystalline technology allowed her to sense fragments of the data within. Distress calls, navigation logs, desperate communications. 19 children were aboard that ship, Vex continued quietly. Families trying to escape extermination. The revelation struck Ixala like physical blow. The wreckage showed no evidence of younglings. The escape pods launched before impact. Most made it to the southern continent. That's where the beacon is, a refugee gathering point. His voice grew strained. "I was separated during the crash sequence. My mission has been to reach them, to protect them." Understanding dawned with terrible clarity. "My hunting party is tracking in the southern regions now." Vex's expression hardened. "Then we need to move faster." As if in cruel answer to his urgency, a distinctive three-tone whistle pierced the night, a Vexari hunting call. Ixala recognized it immediately. "Nexar," she whispered. "My second in command, they're closer than I thought." Vex was already extinguishing the fire, gathering their minimal supplies with military efficiency. "How much time do we have?" "Hours, perhaps less." Ixala rose fluidly to her feet. "He's the finest tracker in our clan besides myself." Their eyes met in the darkness, mutual understanding passing between them. They needed to run, and run now. As they slipped from their shelter into the moonlit jungle, Ixala felt Vex's hand grasp hers, warm and solid. The contact sent an electric current through her that had nothing to do with danger and everything to do with the impossible connection forming between them. They moved swiftly through terrain that would have been impassable to most, Ixala's night vision guiding them through the densest undergrowth, while Vex's tactical instincts helped them avoid natural hazards. They had become a perfect team, hunter and hunted blending their skills. Dawn was breaking when they reached the edge of a massive clearing. Beyond it, nestled against distant mountains, stood a human structure, the emergency outpost Vex had been seeking. "There," he pointed, relief evident in his voice. "We can make it before midday." Ixala scanned the open space with growing apprehension. "This is too exposed. Nexar will have scouts positioned to watch any approach." "We don't have a choice," Vex replied. "We can't circle around, it would take days we don't have." Ixala's bioluminescent markings pulsed with anxiety. Then let me go first. If I'm spotted, I can claim I escaped captivity and am pursuing you. Vex turned to her fully then, his hands gently grasping her shoulders. And betray everything we've become to each other. The question hung between them, charged with unspoken emotion. Ixala reached up, her emerald fingers tracing the line of his jaw with wondering tenderness. "What have we become, human?" she whispered. His answer was not in words. Vex leaned forward, pressing his lips to hers in a gesture foreign to her species, yet somehow perfectly understood by her heart. The kiss was brief but transformative, breaking the final barrier between their worlds. When they parted, Ixala's markings glowed with unprecedented brightness, betraying emotions her training had never prepared her for. "We go together," she decided, her voice firm despite the turmoil in her hearts. "As equals." A harsh command in the Vexari language shattered the moment. They turned to find Nexar emerging from the tree line, his ceremonial hunting armor gleaming in the morning light. Behind him stood 4 elite hunters, weapons trained on Vex. "Step away from the human, first hunter Ixala," Nexar ordered, his tone cold with disapproval. "Your rescue is at hand." Ixala stood frozen between worlds, her duty to her clan and her newfound truth, her lifetime of tradition and the future suddenly possible with Vex. The choice before her would change everything, not just for her but potentially for both their species. Vex's hand found hers once more, a silent statement of support whatever she decided. In that touch was something her people had never taught her to recognize, yet she named it easily now. Trust, respect, perhaps even love. As Nexar waited for her response, Ixala faced the most important hunt of her life, the pursuit of truth, whatever the cost. "Ixala," Nexar's voice hardened, "you appear compromised, step aside." The morning sun cast long shadows across the clearing as Ixala stood her ground, positioned slightly in front of Vex, despite his attempt to move beside her. "No," she replied, her voice carrying the authority of her rank. "Lower your weapons. There has been a grave misunderstanding." Nexar's golden eyes narrowed, the dark stripes across his green face contorting with confusion. "The human has manipulated you. The isolation protocol clearly states." "I've seen the truth," Ixala interrupted, holding up the data crystal. "The humans are refugees, not invaders. Their younglings are in the southern territory where our hunting parties are tracking." Murmurs rippled through the assembled hunters. The protection of younglings, even those of other species, was a sacred principle among the Vexari. "Deception," Nexar insisted, though uncertainty had entered his voice. "The council decreed." "The council didn't have all the facts," Vex interjected, stepping forward despite the weapons trained on him. "I can prove it. The outpost ahead contains our ship's complete logs and the location of all survivor groups." Nexar signaled, and the hunters tightened their formation. "You will surrender to us, human. Ixala will be examined by our healers for mental contamination." Ixala's markings flashed with indignation. "I am first hunter of the Crimson Claw. My judgment remains unclouded." "Yet you protect your prey rather than completing your hunt," Nexar countered. "Unprecedented behavior." "Because the hunt itself was founded on false premises," she replied, then softened her tone. "Nexar, we have tracked together since our first blood marks. Trust me now when I say there is more honor in truth than in completing this hunt." A tense silence fell over the clearing. Behind her, Ixala felt Vex shift subtly into a defensive stance, prepared for whatever might come. Nexar studied her, centuries of Vexari tradition warring with personal loyalty. "The human will come with us to the council," he finally declared. "You may present your evidence there." Ixala exchanged a quick glance with Vex, a silent communication passing between them. The council would mean delay, possibly too much delay for the human refugees under threat. "Unacceptable," Vex said firmly. "Every moment costs lives. I propose an alternative. 2 of your hunters escort me to the outpost to retrieve the evidence while Ixala accompanies the rest of you to stop the southern hunting parties. If I attempt escape, your hunters may execute me." The bold proposal hung in the air. Nexar blinked slowly, the Vexari equivalent of consideration. "And if your evidence proves false?" "Then I submit myself to Ixala's judgment," Vex answered, his eyes finding hers. "I trust her to determine a just outcome." The profound statement of faith was not lost on any present. For a human to willingly place his fate in a hunter's hands represented either madness or something unprecedented between their species. Nexar consulted briefly with his hunters in their native tongue, their melodic language flowing too quickly for Vex to follow. Finally, he turned back. Agreed with one modification. Ixala remains with you, human. Her honor is bound to your claim. 2 of my hunters will accompany you to this outpost. I will lead the others south with the crystal's data to intercept our hunting parties. Relief washed over Ixala, though she maintained her composed exterior. A wise compromise, second hunter. Weapons lowered incrementally as the tension eased. Nexar approached, stopping before Ixala with formal rigidity. The Crimson Claw has existed for 10,000 cycles, he said quietly. No first hunter has ever formed an alliance with designated prey. Ixala met his gaze steadily. Perhaps it is time for evolution in our understanding of the hunt. Something like reluctant respect flickered in Nexar's eyes before he turned away, issuing rapid commands to his team. Within moments, the hunters had divided as agreed. Nexar and 2 others heading south at remarkable speed, while 2 remained, watchful but no longer overtly hostile. As the clearing emptied, Vex finally moved to Ixala's side. Will he honor the agreement? Yes, she said with certainty. Nexar values tradition, but he values honor more. He will protect your younglings until we provide proof. They began walking toward the outpost, the remaining hunters following at a respectful distance. The structure grew larger as they approached. A prefabricated emergency shelter expanded with local materials. Signs of habitation were evident: cultivated plants, water collection systems, perimeter defenses. Your kind adapts quickly, Ixala observed. We've had to, Vex replied. Throughout our history, survival has demanded flexibility. As they neared the main entrance, movement erupted from within. Humans appeared with improvised weapons, faces showing both fear and determination as they spotted the Vexari. Captain Vex, a woman rushed forward, disbelief giving way to joy. We thought you were dead. Not quite, Dr. Bennett, Vex replied with a tired smile. I had help, he gestured to Ixala. This is First Hunter Ixala of the Crimson Claw clan. She's the reason I'm standing here, and potentially the reason we all might have a future on this world. Dr. Bennett looked between them, quickly assessing the unlikely alliance. You've been busy, Captain. Very, he agreed. We need to transmit all survivor coordinates to our hunting parties immediately. There are children at risk. The next hours passed in a flurry of activity. Communications were established with both Vexari hunting parties and scattered human settlements. The data crystal's contents were verified and expanded with the outpost's records. Throughout it all, Ixala observed the humans with newfound perspective, their resourcefulness, their communal nature, their fierce protection of their young. Night had fallen by the time confirmation arrived from Nexar. All hunting parties stood down, all human groups contacted. A formal council meeting would convene in 3 days to determine the path forward. Ixala found Vex alone on the outpost's observation platform, gazing at Viridia's moons. Your people are safe, she said, moving to stand beside him, and mine have accepted the truth. For now, he qualified, coexistence will be challenging. All worthwhile hunts are challenging, Ixala replied with faint amusement. Vex turned to her, his expression serious. What happens now, Ixala, when the council meets, when formal relations are established? What of us? The question touched the heart of everything that had transformed between them. Ixala reached out, her emerald fingers intertwining with his. In our traditions, she said softly, when a hunter and prey reach mutual understanding, neither remains as they were. Something new is created. And what is that called? Vex asked, drawing her closer. Partnership, she answered, her markings glowing with the emotion she no longer sought to hide. The highest form of respect. Their lips met beneath Viridia's twin moons, hunter and hunted now united in the most ancient dance of all, not pursuit but mutual discovery. Around them, a world of possibility opened, challenging both species to evolve beyond their preconceptions. For Ixala, the greatest revelation wasn't the truth about humans or even the shifting politics of her world. It was simpler and more profound. Sometimes the greatest hunt wasn't for prey, but for understanding. And in that understanding, both hunter and hunted could find something neither had sought but both desperately needed. Each other. As the outpost settled into night and plans formed for the future integration of their peoples, Ixala and Vex remained on the platform, silhouettes merging into one against the starlit sky, living proof that the fiercest predator and most resourceful prey could become something greater than either had imagined. The hunt had not ended. It had transformed into something infinite and boundless, the exploration of two hearts across the stars.